Welcome back to the lab. We are excited to step into another dream. My name is John Thomas, and I love getting to talk about dreams and interpret dreams with you guys. I hope that this series is really helpful for you to grow as a dream interpreter. Our desire is to equip a whole generation of people that are able to interpret dreams. And I know we have people literally around the world that use these Dream Lab videos in small groups, in homes with a couple friends as a way to be mentored in dream interpretation. So I'm hoping that you're finding this helpful. I know I enjoy doing them. And we have a lot of different dreams that get sent into us here at Streams. One of the things that we have in our tribe portal, our tribe is those that support us on a regular financial basis. In our tribe portal, we have a place where our tribe members can submit dreams for us to take a look at when we do videos like this. And sometimes we'll choose some of those dreams to be able to look at. And that's where these dreams are coming from for the Dream Lab. So I'm going to pull out another one of our dreams that we have received here. And let's take a look at it and see what we can learn about dream interpretation out of this dream. All right, let's see here. So this dream is coming from Diane. Diane sent in this dream. It was from the end of April 29th, 2024. So this is a recent dream. We're interpreting this. It's August 1st right now when we're filming this. You probably won't see it for a couple months, but just to give you an idea, so about 3 months after the dream was given, we're getting to the interpretation, which can be helpful with the dream interpretation. That's actually, I'll mention why I will often give you these dates when we're doing these, is because the time when the dream happened versus when it's getting interpreted, it can tell you something, because usually a dream, not always, but if it's a self-conditioned dream or if it's a soul dream, it's speaking to that moment. If it's a prophetic dream, it's usually speaking to something in the future, something that's going to happen. And there is often a timing for when God will release the interpretation. So he'll have certain dreams that will find a place to be interpreted at the right time when the interpretation is needed. Now, there's other factors that are there, and that's not every single time, but that does happen again and again. I actually can remember doing an outreach one time, and I'm talking to this guy. He'd had a dream 17 years before. So it had been 17 years. He'd had the dream. He'd had different people interpret it. None of it made sense. We interpret the dream, and it's exactly what's happening in his life at that moment. God had given the dream then for it to be interpreted at that point in time. And it actually had been a part of the journey. It had caused him to make certain choices that got him to where he was so that he could respond to the Lord in that moment. And it was an invitation for him to come into relationship with the Lord. So there's a reason behind the timing of things. And one of the fun things that I have learned to do, and I say learn to do. I'm not so sure that I actually learned it from dream interpretation, because in some ways I've always noticed patterns, but I've definitely become more cognizant of looking for patterns since interpreting dreams. The more you recognize patterns, you're going to start to learn about the ways of God. And that's why I love dreams, because I love learning about his ways. Anyways, Diane's dream. So I went to a class that I was interested in taking, but when I got there, all the students were not in the classroom. So she's getting there first. There's not a lot of people. There's some of the students, but not all of the students. So I put my paper in a card that was something like an ID or a debit, some type of proof of ability to take the class, on the top right side of a desk on the front row. So she chooses her desk. She puts her stuff there on the desk. And then she goes outside to play basketball with others. But when she's playing basketball, she says, I didn't have the strength to get the ball all the way to the hoop. When I went back to the class, a man was sitting at the desk that I'd put my paper and card on. So the place that she'd set aside as hers, now there's somebody else there. I knew that he was the president of the United States. Everyone was taking a test, and he discreetly gave me all the correct answers to the test. Then the teacher asked me unapprovingly why I put my things on his desk. I told her I didn't mean to, it just happened. And then the president called 4 students, myself included, aside and gave us shoes. When we put them on, light came up from the shoes and we were illuminated. Now, this is fun. This is a really fun dream. I hope you're going to enjoy interpreting it. You know, we talk about this periodically, but I want to encourage you because you can kind of feel there's a spirit of revelation, that there's this atmosphere of heaven, if you will, that's on this dream. You can feel there's something a little bit more in this dream. And whenever you feel that, one of the things I love to do is what we call enter into the dream. Imagine yourself dreaming this dream as if you were the dreamer. Now, not just using your head. Use your head, because it's not a bad thing to use our head. But while we're doing that, we're inviting Holy Spirit to come and make it alive and let us experience the dream like the dreamer did. Now, there's times when you do this, you'll start to recognize things in dreams that the dreamer forgot to tell you. And you can confirm parts. You can tell them about parts of the dream. They're like, oh yeah, I'd forgot about that. How'd you know that? It's a beautiful tool, because the same God, if we have a dream that actually was given by God, now not a soul dream, you can look at a soul dream, you can look at a demonic dream, but I would not suggest entering into a demonic dream. That would not be fun. But when you have a God dream, you want to do this because you're engaging the voice of God anew. So look at the dream. Try to go back through the dream. Try to imagine it, asking Holy Spirit to make it come alive. It'll make it a whole lot easier to interpret. Because once you catch that, there's a life that's in a dream. And when you can catch that life that's in a dream that came out of the heart of God, that came out of the voice of God when he originally spoke it, the dream wants to be interpreted. Because every word that comes out of the mouth of God, it actually longs to be interpreted, to find its fulfillment, and it will not return to him void until it has accomplished the very purpose that he sent it for. And when you can find that spark of revelation, all of a sudden, it makes dreams so much easier to understand. So go back, enter into the dream. Maybe you want to rewind this video and listen to me sharing the dream again, trying to picture it, and then come back to this point, and you're going to pause the video. Come up with the title. What would you title this one? What's the focus of the dream? Who or what are the sub-focuses of the dream? What are the details that are important? And then what's the meaning of the dream? What is it that God is trying to communicate to this dreamer? Why did God give this dreamer this dream? And when you're ready, go ahead and start the video again, and I'll let you know what I got out of this here at the lab. All right, welcome back to the Dream Lab. Did you have a chance to work through this dream yet? What did you get for the title? You call this a lot of different things. Maybe just call it the president. You call it new shoes. Call it learning something. A lot of different titles. I'm just going to call it the president because there's some kind of key things, and the president's actually a really important detail in this dream. Well, important element. Might be more of a sub-focus, but we're going to get to that in a second. Who or what did you get for your focus? In this dream, the focus is the dreamer. Remember, the dreamer comes to the class that they want to take. The dreamer puts their things on the desk. The dreamer goes out to play basketball. The dreamer returns and the president gives them the answers. The dreamer gets confronted by the teacher. The dreamer is given new shoes along with others. This is all about the dreamer. This is something that's going on in the dreamer. Now, I think this is the one where I mentioned that you want to enter into the dream and kind of feel what's going on. When you entered into this dream, what did you feel when those shoes came and the light illumined. You feel that lightness? You feel the presence of the Lord that came. There's something really key that was given there. So this is a really good dream about the calling that the dreamer has. Now, here are our details. The class, that's going to be really important. Basketball could be important or could just be a detail. It's kind of one of those things that if you leave it out of the dream, it doesn't completely change the plot. So it's more of a detail than a sub-focus, but it's kind of its own thing. It's just like this little movement that happens, and without something to mark it, you can forget that that happened. So I put it as a detail. But the next piece, so you've got the class, you've got the president. That's kind of a key sub-focus. And then the shoes I put as the other sub-focus. Now, shoes you could have put as an important detail off of the president because the president gave the dreamer the shoes. But just because that light illuminating and that whole thing and how important they are to the dream, I made them a sub-focus. Now, let's take a look at each of those pieces. So the class is about a subject the dreamer wants to know. So something they are interested in, something they want to grow in, they want to learn in, and they mark their place. So they've set aside a place. Like I have a place to learn, and they've marked it. So that whole thing of the ID, the debit card, marking their spot, that their desk, and they're interested, talking about being in the front row. So this is like, I want to be right up front. I really want to be involved. I'm not in the back row, not really engaged, not really important, but realizing it's not the season to learn yet. So they saw the potential, they marked their place. I want to learn this, but then they had to go and do something. Basketball, some type of a team sport, some type of thing. This is probably because of the light coming out of, we have this recognition, this is a spiritual dream. Basketball is not always about ministry, but in this particular situation, it's actually talking about ministry. So they've recognized their need to learn. They have a desire to learn, but they had to actually have a season where they were engaged in ministry first, right? But when they come back to learn, they have an encounter with the president. So the president, what did you think of the president? Who was the president? What was the president? What would that represent? Notice it wasn't a particular president. It was just a president. That's a clue. So it's not really about the person as much as it is about the title or the role that is being played. So the president is the one that's in charge, the person with the highest authority in the United States, which is probably where the dreamer comes from because of the context of the dream. That would be a valid assumption to make. So somebody that's not from the United States, maybe the president of the United States might mean something different. But for someone who is in the United States, the president of the United States could represent God because he's the highest authority in the land, in the kingdom. So this is actually God that's there. Now, I'm just remembering all the different pieces, making sure that I don't forget a piece. So God's there, and notice that what God does, gives them all the answers to the test. That the things that they need to learn, that they're actually going to be taught by the Lord. They're being told that. Now, what happens with the teacher? The teacher is giving them a hard time because they put their stuff on the desk that the Lord is on. Because they're identifying with the place of the Lord, with the Lord. And so there's the environment that they've been learning. People haven't understood this whole dynamic. Now, this could mean a lot of different things, and I don't want to make assumptions because I can think of a dynamic like, well, this dynamic would fit that metaphor. This dynamic would put that metaphor. This dynamic would meet that metaphor. But the important thing, instead of figuring that out, the dreamer will figure it out because the dreamer knows their life and they knows their dynamic. The teacher is someone that has a level of authority, clearly not the authority of the president, so the teacher is not God. The teacher is more someone in the environment. That could be a pastor, that could be a leader, could be a mentor, someone that doesn't understand the identification that they have with the Lord, that place. Wait, only God can do that. That's God's place. Why are you saying that you have that place? But the reality is God has called the dreamer to this role, and God himself is going to equip the dreamer. So the shoes is the ability to walk this out. Now, they're not the only person that's going to be walking out this situation out. There's 4 other people that are also being, or there's 4 of them total, excuse me. There's 4 of them that are being given the ability to walk out the call that God has on their life. So it's not that they're the only ones, but they do have a unique call and a unique gifting to walk something out, and they're going to walk out revelation. There's a revelatory call. So how would you say that to the dreamer? Well, this is how I would say it to the dreamer. So basically, what this dream is showing is it's showing the path that you've been on in your spiritual journey and the next step of the things that have been happening. You realize that there are things that you need to learn and things that you need to grow on, and you've had a desire to grow and learn your whole spiritual life. But it seems like that there wasn't the opportunity for you to learn immediately. So you've been active doing things in ministry and being active in ministry. But now you've come into the season where you're pursuing learning. And some of the places that you've marked out that you wanted to grow and learn in, other people see it occupied by the Lord. While the Lord is teaching you what you needed to know, other people are jealous of that situation, and they don't understand that your heart has not been to take something from the Lord, but you just are hungry to learn about the things of the Lord. Don't worry about that, because the Lord himself is going to equip you with what you need to be able to walk out your call. And the call that you have is a revelatory call. It's going to be illuminated as you walk it out. Now, do you see how encouraging that dream is? That's a fun dream. What did you get when you went through it? Where did you put the different pieces? What did you get? What did you miss? Make sure to put it in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts about this dream and what you've learned about dream interpretation from going through the dream, but also listening to the meaning of it. The Lord bless you. Keep on dreaming. Until next time, we'll see you here at the lab.